Hey guys, welcome back to Let's Be Honest podcast. Today's guest is a former pastor who left the church after facing backlash for his progressive beliefs and bold support of marginalized communities. He's since turned his art into a powerful form of resistance, healing, and truth telling. His work challenges norms, spreads love, and pushes all of us to think deeper. So I am super excited to welcome the naked pastor to the podcast. Everyone welcome the naked pastor.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Oh, I love that introduction. That was sweet. Thank you very much. Nice
Oh,
to meet
good. Thank
you.
you.
Yeah.
It's nice to meet you too. Yeah, I was hoping I got that right. I was like, hopefully this describes him pretty well, but I did my research, so I was like, I'm pretty sure I nailed it.
It makes me sound pretty good.
Well, that describes you pretty well, right?
Well, I'm honored. Thank you.
Of course. So first, people are probably like, the naked pastor, that sounds a little creepy. What's going on? So can we talk about how you
Well,
came up with that name?
it's been a bane of my existence ever since I came up with that name. I I I, I got the name Naked Pastor way back in 2006, I think it was. And during that time, like things like the Naked Chef, the Naked Archaeologist, the Naked Truth, all that was kind of cool. And I thought, like, I was running a blog at the time. I thought, what would be really cool is the Naked Pastor, like, get in behind the scenes, let me be really honest and vulnerable, upfront, real, transparent, vulnerable, and raw. And so I went with Naked Pastor, and it's an awesome name. You don't forget it, but at the same
Yeah.
time, a lot of people are like, "Ooh, that's kind of gross." So, uh, yeah, I'm kind of stuck with it now, but
Okay.
I think I will stick with it, and we'll see what happens. So, yeah,
Yeah.
that's basically why I chose it, though. I wanted people to see behind the curtain what really goes on in the life of a pastor and in the ministry in the church.
Yeah. So the naked part just means like you're raw. You're just showing them your true side.
Yeah.
There's no clothes on. You're not hiding anything.
Yeah. I mean, people who have a lick of imagination can go, figure that out, right?
Oh yeah, 100%.
But I
Yeah.
mean, true, if you Google naked pastors, two words, you can find naked pastors.
Hmm.
In fact, one time I was invited to come speak at a nudist colony, and I turned that down because that's just not what I'm about.
Well, you said a nudist? That is so funny. You're like, I think they got the wrong image of who I am.
Yeah, exactly.
That is so funny. They were thinking they were gonna get a naked pastor. They were like, this is the best of both worlds. That is
Yeah.
so funny. Yeah, I was talking to my mom about having you on. My mom, she loves you. She follows your stuff. And she was
Oh,
like, you have to ask him how he got that name.
the when I picked it, it was controversial enough. And way back then, that's 20 years ago, almost, where there were people say, I can't access your website. And I'm like, well, where are you? I'm at the public library. Well, that's why.
They think you're
Public
actually looking
libraries,
up naked people.
schools, things like, yeah, anything naked. But the world, like America especially, has become more prudish over
Mm-hmm.
time.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the concept of nudity or fine art nudes or you know whatever
Yeah.
was way more acceptable than it is now. I mean, it's becoming really kind of super conservative, and like
Mm-hmm.
and I know that personally. One of the series I started a couple of years ago was Sexy Sunday, where I would challenge purity culture ideas. And so my Sexy Sunday cartoons were about purity culture. And so it had a lot to do with sex
Mm-hmm.
and things like that. Now they're all tasteful. You can't see anything, but when I started that, it wasn't so bad. But
Yeah.
more and more and more now, they're getting banned and reported, and I've pretty much had to really pull back on the whole that all of that stuff. So
Yeah.
it's interesting. We think as history progresses, we become more progressive, but that's not necessarily true.
Oh my gosh, you said it perfectly. That's so true. Why do you think Like, have you put like your finger on like the reason why you think, sex and nudity is becoming so taboo? Like, have you tried to like figure that out? Why do you think that is? Do you think it has to do with like certain groups of people, or like what do you think?
Yeah, I think the patriarchy is winning right now.
Yeah.
And the they they have a lot of people in power. Well, of course, that's no shock, but they are legislating purity culture. Like it's becoming more and more misogynist.
Mm-hmm.
And I know I'm speaking your language, and I'm not doing that on purpose to win points. I'm being serious.
I'm like,
Yeah.
yes.
And that uh, women who want control over their own bodies and their own expression and so on, and to freely talk about sex and the freedom of sex
Yeah.
and um, all that kind of thing is abhorrent to the patriarchy. They want to control everything, and
Mm-hmm.
or it wants to control everything. And so, and we're seeing that in the United States really. Uh, I'm Canadian in Canada, by the way. I
Mm-hmm.
just thought I'd let that out there, but I'm married to an American. She's dual now, and all our kids are dual.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a very close relationship with the United States. I got my degrees there and so on, and a lot of friends, a lot of family down there. So I'm not just speaking from across the border. I'm intimately connected.
Yes.
And what I'm seeing is that even though we're seeing the decline in the popularity of the United States, we're not seeing a decline in its influence. And so this whole MAGA right wing evangelical conservative purity culture patriarchal kind of ideology um, is gaining more and more ground. I think because a lot of people are just kind of naive. They just are
Very,
letting it happen.
very
Uh,
ignorant.
very ignorant. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, everything you just said, 100%. This I don't think I had put this on one of the questions, but since we're talking about it,
Yeah.
why do you think, and you can correct me if I'm wording this wrong, but why do you think there is a big, like the majority of people, actually, I would assume, a big Christian community, I should say more a conservative Christian community that support Trump, and they think Trump is like God's gift or whatever they say. How is there a correlation there? Like, I don't understand how you can be a Christian and vote for someone like that. Me and my mom have this conversation all the time, and my mom gets so into it, and I'm like, Mom, I wish I knew because I don't know. But what is your take on that? Like, what do you think?
Well, you know, um, I grew up in a very conservative religious culture. I don't know about you, but like I grew up in Baptist, Pentecostal,
Mm.
charismatic, kind of right wing, kind of apocalyptic kind of religious culture, Christian culture
Mhm.
specifically. Like I went to youth camps, I went to youth conferences, I went to all kinds of conferences, and the whole thing. And Trump, in my opinion, um, I don't think he is what some people would call a true Christian, but I think he really knows how to use it. And and that there's that whole fringe aspect of this Christian culture that believes in the end times and believes that Jesus is coming back anytime now and believes in us and them, that they're true believers and false believers. And those in power are milking that. They're just milking that and using it and creating all this hype. So it's just a perfect fit. Like a lot of us people who have come out of and deconstructed from this whole Christian
Mhm.
crazy culture and times and all that kind of thing, prophecy, miracles, supernatural events, uh, God's divine
Mhm.
anointed, all this kind of stuff. Trump is just fitting it perfectly, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
Um,
That makes
Like
sense.
even with the so-called assassination attempts, they're like resurrections, and
It's
uh,
insane.
people believe in that. They really do. It's like flat earthers or whatever. It's like I know people who believe, well, why care about the environment? Jesus is coming back soon anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Oh my gosh.
Oh
That
yeah, no, 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 no. I'm serious. Like that, and that's a whole part of this whole MAGA
yeah,
or right wing or Christian uh, evangelical theology. That they
yeah,
really do say that out loud. It's not a secret.
I know.
Like this hyper concern about the planet. God controls the sun, and the sun controls the weather. So I'm going to trust God. And so that kind of mindless, uh, thoughtless
Hmm.
theology is just so easy to swallow for so many people.
Yep.
Yeah,
Especially his supporters because
yeah.
they eat it up. They just believe everything he says.
And I get it. I I used to be in that culture.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So I totally get it. It's very cult like. Like a
Hmm.
lot of people are saying the Trump whole the make a thing is a cult, and it does show a lot of uh, aspects and similarities to being in a cult for sure. And I
Oh
know
yeah.
what it's like and what it feels like because I used to be in that kind of culture, and I totally get it. You
Yeah.
know.
Wow. That's so interesting that you grew up in a super conservative environment, religion. I did not
Mm,
grow up conservative. It's funny, my mom, she grew up kind of in the same environment as you. She was Baptist. I'm not much of a religious human. I just want to put that there. I grew up Christian because my mom, like, obviously, you know, told us, like, read the Bible and you have to be saved and blah blah blah. Like, she would speak to me and my sister about like the things we need to do, but we never really went to church. But when my mom was little, she grew up in a pretty conservative environment where she would go to a church and they would set Barbie dolls, two girls on fire, and be like, if you end up, you know, they probably don't say, like, if you're gay, they probably don't use the word gay. Honestly, I don't know. But it was to visualize, like, you're going to burn in hell if you end up liking the same gender. You know what I mean? Um,
what what state did you grow up in?
so it's funny. I grew up in California for like 10
Okay,
years, and then I've been in Texas
okay,
for like 15, 16
okay,
years.
okay.
But yeah, my mom grew up in a very conservative town in Texas. And then my mom and my dad, they got together. My dad joined the military. They were bopping around and then they got to
Right.
California and then but yeah, it was very interesting hearing my mom's backstory because she again grew up very conservative. And when
Mom.
she I'm sorry?
No, I'm just agreeing with you.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, okay. And then whenever she had kids, she never really pushed anything on us. It was just, we're Christian, whatever. I don't ever remember her talking badly about any type of groups, nothing like that. It was just, I'm Christian and that's it. Like, cool.
Right.
Um, but now I love it. Now that, I am a part of the community. I, came out to my parents and it really put things into perspective for my mom, like she was able to sit back and be like, my daughter's not going to hell. Like, why in the world would she go to hell just because she likes the same gender? You know what I mean? And so my mom, she also considers herself as is it called deconstructing Christian? Yes.
Yeah.
She's still in the process of it. I mean, she's pretty much there where she's able to look back and be like, like, wow, I can't believe I believed in certain things, like so now she identifies still as a Christian, but she's like, I'm a progressive Christian. I believe in human rights. I believe this, and that. Like, I don't really believe much about the Bible because it's kind of interesting. Anyways, I'm yapping, but I don't know what my
I like
point
your
was.
mom.
What'd
I
you
like
say?
your I like your mom.
My mom, she wanted to come on here and talk to you, and I was like, Mom, come on. And she was like, I'm nervous, and I was like, Mom, but she gave me questions to ask you, so they're
Oh,
kind of throughout the
yeah.
episode. So I'll
Perfect.
definitely I'll point it out and I'll say, this is the question my mom wanted me to ask you. But
All
yeah,
right.
she's the best. I take her to pride events. Like, she's the best. Of course, she still has questions, but
Sure.
she is an ally and she will fight for me, and she's the best. And the progress I've seen is amazing. And
That's awesome.
it's amazing because a lot of stories are different. You know, kids coming out and parents are neglectful and they kick their kids out, and it's crazy. And I luckily had
Yeah,
a pretty good coming out story. So
that's
I'm
awesome.
I'm thankful for that. Yes. Okay,
Mm.
let's jump into all of the questions, okay?
Yes.
All right, so I want to talk about your journey as a pastor. So, what first drew you to becoming a pastor?
That is a really weird story
Mhm.
because I went to college, got my BA in Bible and theology, and then I went to seminary and got my MA in New Testament theology, and then I went to start my PhD in New Testament theology, and so on and so forth. Then uh, we got pregnant, and I could no longer feasibly continue in the PhD program because it was so expensive and
Yeah.
time consuming. And so I was looking for what to do.
Mhm.
And I was a chimney sweep for a while and all this kind of thing. Anyway, I was offered an opportunity to go to a seminary in Montreal at McGill University, Presbyterian College. So I went there and got a, a diploma of ministry.
Okay.
And with the promise that as soon as I graduated, well, as I was studying, they gave me a student charge. I had a couple of churches as a student. And then when I graduated, they offered me ordination and I would be given a full time position in a church. And it was like I had no money, I had no work, I didn't know what to do. And they said, here's a path for you.
Yeah.
And so what I originally wanted to be was a scholar. Like I wanted to be a New Testament scholar. But that got cut short and this path opened up before me and I took it. And so I ended up in the ministry kind of by accident.
I love
And
Yeah.
yeah, and I struggled with it all the time, but I was a pretty good pastor and did the work. And then over time though, I ended up realizing that I could no longer grow freely without disturbing the church too much.
Mhm.
And it just long story short, it just got to the point where I realized, look, I'm not happy. The church is struggling with my growth direction.
Mhm.
And so I just decided to quit
Yeah. Yeah.
in 2010. And, there's a lot of pain and a lot of stories behind that, but I, I just decided to quit and I quit cold turkey. And I'd been in the ministry for about 30 years and I I was lost. And because this is all I'd known.
Mhm.
I ended up teaching English as a second language at the university here to international students. And then I thought, you know what? Um, I'm going to Naked Pastor had been going for about 5 years. And so I thought, I'm going to see if I can make this work for me full time.
Yeah.
And so I quit teaching and focused on Naked Pastor full time with my cartoons and my paintings and all that. And here I am, what is it? 15 years later and I'm still doing it full time. So,
But I'm sure you're happier now, though.
oh,
Yeah.
exponentially, yeah.
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 It's interesting because I sort of kind of have the same story, not with like me leaving a church, but me having to leave um my career. So I was a teacher. I was a kindergarten teacher here in Texas.
Hmm.
I don't know if you've heard, stories about Texas, very conservative.
Yeah.
I'm in Austin, so I'm in a very
I love Austin.
liberal, yes, a very, liberal environment where people don't really care.
Yeah.
But I worked at a charter school, so parents are usually more like helicopter, which is
Yeah.
fine, I respect it, but I eventually had to leave. I left because they found my podcast. They looked into me. They saw that I had like I was a part of the community. They didn't like that because God forbid I'm like indoctrinating these kids, and like it was insane. They would deep dive on me. They didn't find anything that was like bad. It was just I was a part of the community, and I would go to pride events and I would post it. I was just freely me, like posting
Yeah.
myself. Why wouldn't I be able to? Um they hated that. I posted something on Twitter a while back about I forgot who it was. It was somebody that was passing a bill or trying to. Who was it? But it was something about how if you are a teacher in Texas, or it was like in America, I don't remember, guys. I'm probably butchering this, but this was like 7 years ago, so I don't remember. But it was something that someone was trying to pass about if you're a teacher and you know that your student is gay, you have to out that student to the parents because the
That was
parent.
DeSantis, wasn't it?
Oh, in Florida, probably.
But but federally, he wanted it to be a federal
Yes,
thing. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that was it. Anyways, yeah, and I commented on it, and I was like, as a future teacher, because this is when I was in college. I was like, as a future teacher, I would never do that because you don't know what their home life is. You don't know if like it's just so ignorant. Like it's so
Yeah.
freaking ignorant. And I put that. I was like, this is ignorant. Like I went in and parents screenshotted it, sent it to my boss, and they were like, this is the teacher that you have, like she's indoctrinating our kids. And I had books that were super accepting. It didn't ever speak about the community because I did try to avoid that just because I'm in Texas. But it was about inclusivity, how families look different. I think it's called Love is Family. And there was one page where it was two women, but it didn't say like these are two moms. It was just like a picture of them in the kitchen. And the book was just to show that families look different. And um parents took that, ran with it. I guess the author of the book was supposedly a like queer woman, and so of course that was like even worse. And I was a teacher for 3 years. Every single year there was something wrong, and it was like every month there was something, and they were trying to get me fired. They sent me to the board multiple times. Luckily my admin was amazing and they had my back, and they were like, Miss Kinley's not doing anything wrong. Like you guys need to chill. But then after a while, I started to feel bad for my principal because I'm like, you could have a teacher that doesn't cause these problems. Like I'm not causing it, but you know what I mean? And so
Yeah.
there was something at the end that happened that the parents found my podcast, and I'm very raw on my podcast. I talk about how I feel. I talk about people
Yeah.
that are transitioning, and like, just I talk to everybody. And they heard an episode that I did. I think it was with someone that was in the process of transitioning, and they hated that. And long story short, my principal was like, you have to either choose teaching or your podcast. And I was like, I don't think you can do that. I don't think you can tell me that, like I don't think you're allowed to say that. But I was like, you know what? I've already mentally checked out. Like I'm just gonna finish this year off, and I wish you guys the best. And so I quit. And so now I'm putting all of my stuff into my podcast. Of course, I still need to make, more income. So I found another job. But yeah, so I was in the same thing as you, where it was just like the place,
Painful.
it was painful, and the place that we were at, it
Yeah.
wasn't helping us, like it wasn't doing any good for us, I guess. Like it just, I didn't feel like I needed to be there anymore. Like I was there, I did my thing. I was a great teacher, and that's it, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's unfortunate that these things happen. Like it's just crazy.
Yeah. It's too bad because that's the same as my experience, where it's not like an axe falls or a guillotine. It's more like your life just becomes so exhausting. Just trying to be authentic, trying to be
Mhm.
honest, trying to be yourself, trying to have the integrity,
Mhm.
and constantly up against this, opposition and pushback and criticism and gossip, and like it's just exhausting. And So you probably, just for your mental health,
Oh
made the
yeah.
right choice.
Oh, 100%. And when I did let them know, like, I'm not coming back, I was like, okay, I'm scared because this is a new beginning and
Yeah.
I have a degree under my belt, but it's very specific. So I'm like, it's going to be kind of hard to find a job. But
Hmm.
I feel like wherever I do go, it's going to be better than this. And like, anyways, yeah, it was crazy. And there were
Yeah.
conversations that little kids like would have in my class. Like there was a lot of Muslim kids in my class and they would talk about their religion. They knew a lot about it and so they would talk about it. And then there were some kids that would disagree because they would be really educated in their religion. They would go
Yeah.
back and forth and then I would have to be like, hey guys, like everyone can believe in what they believe in. Like it's okay if Susie believes in this and you believe in this. We love each other. That's it. Now let's continue with math or whatever. And what I said would be switched and the parents would be like, you're telling our kids they can't believe in their religion. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So yeah, exhausting is the right word. Exhausting. Like I was like,
Yeah.
it is insane the length that these parents are going. But anyways, I can talk about this forever.
No, no, I totally hear you. Yeah.
So looking back, when did you first start to feel the friction between your beliefs and the church? I know you said that like, you
Hmm.
started to realize that really, you needed to leave, but like what was the moment that you were like, okay, this is not for me anymore?
It wasn't, this isn't working. It was more like, how do I make this make sense?
Yeah.
That was my struggle. And in fact, it began on the very day I was graduating from seminary. I had completed all my work, all my assignments were in. I'd already gotten my grades, and I was graduating cum laude from, the seminary, and I was very, very happy about that. But
Hmm.
I had some time in between, you know, getting my grades and the actual graduation ceremony. And we were down in downtown Boston, and we were at Harvard Coop, and there was a bookstore there. And I was looking through the bookstore, and I saw a book that attracted my attention, and I picked it up. And I'm going to tell you what it is now because you might have people say, "What's the book?"
Yeah.
Um, The Silence of Jesus
Okay.
by James Breach. So this was published, uh, jeepers, uh, yeah, like 40 years ago.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
And I was just intrigued by the title, The Silence of Jesus.
Hmm.
And I read that book. And so you got to understand, I'm a person who grew up on the Bible.
Hmm.
Like I still have my Bibles all underlined and highlighted and writing in the margins. And I went and got my Bible degree, my BA. I got a Bible degree for a master's. I was started my PhD in Bible. I knew Greek, I knew Hebrew, I knew Aramaic, like all, you name it. I was a Bible freak. And so I read this book, and what it did was it made me question the inspiration of Scripture. Like, and that's all it did.
Hmm.
And I remember standing there in front of my wife, Lisa, freaking out. Like, what am I going to do? Like, I'm not sure I believe in the inspiration of Scripture anymore. And here I am graduating with my Bible degree and all this kind of stuff. It really fucked me up,
Yeah.
really, really big time. And so Lisa's like grabbing me by the shoulders saying, "You've got to go to your graduation ceremony." And I had the robe on and everything, right? It was all ready to go. And so that's where my deconstruction began. And so what I know some people are like, "Oh, jeepers, the Bible's not inspired," and they just move on. They're like, "I was duped, I'm over it," and they move on. Well, not me. I had to deal with it. I had to figure out, okay, here is something that has meant so much to me my whole life. I'm not willing to throw it out completely, but I am questioning what it's about now, like its meaning, its source, like
Hmm.
its significance. And so I decided I'd heard a person say the worst time to make a decision is when you're confused. So I was going to wait for clarity, and it took me 30 years.
I was about to say, I feel like that
Yeah,
making a decision like that, I bet that took a while.
took a long time. Took a long time. And so I was in the ministry the whole time. I was wrestling with that whole question, like, and the question basically was, how do I appreciate my roots without them limiting me?
Mhm.
That's what my question was. How
Mhm.
can I integrate what I now know about the Bible with what I already know about the Bible without exploding everything? Like how do I do that? So I spent 30 years trying to figure that out. And so for me, when I quit the ministry in 2010, it all sort of came to rest, and you know, I was able to move on, but I had to do that outside of the church.
Yeah.
Like
So, what do you think was the hardest part about leaving? And like,
community, without a doubt, without a doubt, community. That's you ask anybody who's deconstructed or whatever they've left the church or whatever, ask them what they miss. They're not going to say the donuts, or they're not going to say the nursery, they're not going to say the sermons, they're not going to say the comfortable pews, none of that. They're going to
mhm.
say I miss community.
Mhm.
And that's the biggest, I think, the biggest pain point most people feel,
Yeah.
myself included.
So you grew up super conservative, and now what would you like, I know some people out there don't like labels, but like what would you label yourself now? Like a conservative Christian, that's how you were whenever you grew up. How do you label yourself now? And maybe you've already kind of described this and told me about this, but like in my brain, I'm like, it is so interesting that you could grow up so conservative and now you're so progressive. Like, was
Hmm.
there a specific moment? And I probably have this in my questions like later on, but I'm just jumping ahead.
Sure.
I know you said like the book at the bookstore is what made you be like, oh my God, but what made you be like, I want to focus on the marginalized groups? I want to make sure that people hear me. I want to talk about the things that people don't want to talk about. Like what was that moment where you were like, I want to fight for these people? Does that make sense?
Yep. So I did grow up in a conservative Christian culture, but I was always different. I don't, and I'm not sure how to describe that, but I was always a little bit of a clown. Um, and most right wing conservative people aren't. They're not very funny. Excuse me.
That's going to be the clip.
Like they just don't have a sense of humor. And it seems to me the thing that MAGA finds most gleeful is watching people suffer, to be honest, or causing people to suffer, or inflicting it even.
Mm,
Um, so I was always a bit of a clown and joking around, sometimes inappropriately, I suppose. But another thing too was I was always curious, so a little bit of a loner, maybe not. I was always reading, exploring, trying to discover, trying to learn, and so I was, even though I was in a conservative culture, I always read outside of the box a bit. So, and that increased over time as I had these sort of mini uh, flashes of insight that would open a window into another room, and I'd go and explore that. It was very, oh, what's the word? Wrong. It 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 felt very against the rules, but I would read stuff.
like
I
taboo.
and mm,
I said like it was taboo, like it felt taboo.
taboo, totally
Yeah.
taboo. Transgressive. It was
Mm,
very transgressive. And I I never ever remember being anti-gay or whatever. I do remember struggling with love the sinner, hate the sin kind of stuff, and then that didn't make sense either.
Mm-hmm.
And and then after many years in the ministry and seeing how that worked, and then leaving the ministry, um, I'd had a very profound sort of a moment where it's almost like I was on a mushroom trip, you might say, but I wasn't. Where just my whole mind opened up and the whole puzzle came together, and I just saw in sort of this flash of insight where I just saw the connection of everything and how at a deep fundamental level we're all one, we're all united,
Mm-hmm.
we're all in this. And that to me has been, I've always known that, but to see it and to feel it was a grounding, very grounding experience for me, very profound.
Mm-hmm.
And that led up to me actually leaving the ministry.
Mm-hmm.
Because I, like you, was being very open and vulnerable in my blogs,
Mm-hmm.
sharing this experience I'd had, and that got me in trouble with the authorities. And I actually got a call, and they were saying, "We'd like you to run your posts through us first before you publish them." I was like, "Yeah, that's not going to happen." So within the year, I was gone. And so one of the biggest so when you see that we are one, that we're united, and you see that this is what love is the glue that binds us together. This is my conviction at a very deep level. I believe that we are bound together by this force we call love, but it's not sentimental. Love is like even even in the Gospels, Jesus is quoted as saying, the sun shines on everyone, the rain rains on everyone. Uh, that's what justice is.
Mm-hmm.
And they didn't know about gravity back then, but gravity pulls everything. It's not discriminate. It's indiscriminate. That's what love is. Love is that that force that everyone, like the sun, like the rain, like gravity, it's everyone. And we can't say you're in, you're out, based on your appearance, based on your gender, based on your choices, based on your sexuality or skin color or education or economics or anything. Love is like that,
Uh-huh.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, that was sort of what I'm fighting for. So that when people say, oh yeah, the church accepts everyone, but
Mm.
you have to fall in line once you become a member. Like you have to stop practicing homosexuality or whatever. And
Practicing.
and yeah, practicing. Actually, I don't need to practice anymore. I'm pretty good at it. But I'm not talking about me, but
No, I know.
you.
I know.
So that for me, like, so when a church or any group says, "Yeah, we love," but then to me that's a profound and fatal misunderstanding of what love is and what community is and what humans are and what the universe could be. So that's why I fight so hard for my LGBTQIA friends. In Canada, we can say 2S LGBTQs, two spirit. Um, why I fight so hard for women, feminism, and so on. People of other other religions, or atheists, or whatever. Because to me, we're all one.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You and I are connected. We never knew each other before, but immediately I think our connection is proof that we're connected at a deep level that we don't understand or see. And I just make that assumption with everyone and everything. And so that's why I'm so adamant about this. It's almost like there's this line, and that's where the battlefront is.
Mhm.
And so that's where I choose to fight.
I think it's great that when you were younger and you were like immersed in, your conservative Christian like environment and religion, you were still curious. I think that's great because a lot of religion, like I had this girl on, oh gosh, I forgot what religion. It was Christian, but it was like a branch and they had like there was an article on Rolling Stones about it and it was like considered a cult and she was in it and her dad was like this leader and she talked about how they would like not punish you physically but you would get in trouble if you questioned if you read anything else
Oh,
other
yeah.
than the
Yeah.
Bible or whatever. And so I think it's great that you were able to think outside of the box and you were able to be able to put your finger on certain things and be like, wait, love the what is it? Love the sin or love the human, hate the sin or something. What is that
Yeah.
quote?
Love the sinner, hate the sin. Yeah.
Yes. I love how you were able to be like, "Oh, that doesn't really make sense. Like I'm confused. Like how does that work?" Because
Right.
there's so many people that are in religions right now that they're fearful. They're scared to think outside the box. They're fearful to ask questions. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
I think I don't know, when it comes to religion, I have such an interesting view on it. Like I think religion can be such a good thing. Um but I feel like it is just something that was created that was to control people. And there's no disrespect. It's just that's literally how I see it. And like it's unfortunate because I know how much good can come out of religion and Jesus and I don't know, all that stuff. I'm not a super religious person, so hopefully I'm not like saying things wrong here, but I don't know. It's an interesting concept for me. So
Can
yeah,
I make a comment on that?
of course.
I- I'm kind of the same way where religion is now kind of benign.
Mhm.
It can be benign, but it depends whose hands it's in.
Mhm. Mhm.
And it's kind of like an atom, you
Mhm.
know, uh, or even nuclear power, let's say. It can be a force for good, but we all know it can also be a force for incredible damage, and destruction.
Mhm.
And I think religion's the same way. One theologian I really admired compared an event like, say, Jesus to a meteor coming from outer space and crashing into the earth. And what remains is like the crater is religion. The impact that the meteor has creates this crater. That's religion. And then, you set up tourist booths and
Mhm.
restaurants and everything all around this crater and tourist sites and everything. That's religion, right? But what happened? It's kind of like with Jesus. I don't personally believe there was a man named Jesus. I think there was a man, but so much has been sort of uh, put upon him, so much interpretation and layers of meaning and all the prophetic hopes and dreams of people in the Jewish Bible and, all this kind of thing, right? Um, the Buddha, uh, these Muhammad, all these incidents, these events that happened, there might have been something pure there,
Mhm.
but it turns into this huge monstrous machine that just eats people up, you know. And we know though, uh, Islam and Buddhism and Christianity and Judaism and you know uh, and science and all can do incredible good,
Mhm.
but we also know it can do incredible harm. And so I'm sort of the same position as you.
Yeah. I remember when I was little, I would always be so confused because I had friends from all different religions growing up because I was in California, a very diverse area. Um,
Right.
and so I would be very confused. I'd be like, this person believes in whoever,
Yeah.
but I'm supposed to believe in Jesus.
Yeah.
Who what is the right religion here? Like which religion is right for me to go to heaven, pretty much, like, and I
Yeah.
was always so fearful. I was so scared. I would talk to my mom about it. I'd be like, what if this isn't the right religion? Like what if we're practicing the wrong religion and then we're going to go to hell? And my mom, of course, she, said what she thought was right, but it was, you just have to have faith. You just have to have, you just have to believe. And I'm like, even when I was younger, I'm like, no, like that doesn't make sense to me. Like, why are there so many different
Yep.
gods?
Yep.
And it was just such a confusing thing to me.
Mm.
I don't
Yeah.
know. It's very interesting. It's very interesting. And yeah.
See, that to me is the um, like in 2009, I had this profound moment
Hmm.
where I just saw the connection of everything. But what I saw was that there's one reality around which, like, we're all involved in this one reality. There's one reality, but we all have our own experience of it. We all have our own interpretation of it. We all have our own explanation of it. And that's what I have my own take on reality. You have your own take on reality. And every religion, it's the same. They have their own take. And even within Christianity, there's thousands of takes,
Hmm.
different interpretations of what this reality is. That's even what the Bible is. There's 68 documents or 66 documents collected into one volume, and they're all different attempts to explain reality. But that doesn't mean there isn't just this one reality.
Hmm.
And so, you know, uh, my my take growing up was a version of Christianity. It's very different now, but I came up from that, and my version or my take, my experience of reality is very different. But I also understand that it's very much similar to many, many other takes out there.
Hmm.
I had a friend recently said, "So where are you now?" Like he was in the ministry with me, like we were in the ministry together, and we've been friends for a long time. He says, "So what are you now? Are you Buddhist?" And I was like, "What?" Like, I'm thinking in my mind, "What?" Like just because of the way I talk and the way I write and the
Yeah.
way I am and everything, he assumed I'd switched to Buddhism. No, it's just my my mind has, I think, or my worldview has expanded to include more,
Hmm.
right? So yeah, that's that's my take now.
Yeah.
I think it's more extensive and better.
Oh, totally. And I think what's interesting is like me and my mom, we talk about this often. She believes that like you have to believe in something, Kinley. Like you have to believe in something. And I'm like, I don't really know. Like I'm someone that I'm like, sure, something had to create this.
Uh-huh.
Like there has to be something that created this. Like I don't know. Like it is so interesting. Like deep dive, try to figure this out. You won't. Like you won't figure this out. You won't know. You know what I mean? Like you won't ever know who created this. But my mom, she always not argues. We talk about it, and she's like, "You have to believe in something, Kinley." And it reminded me, like what you said. Your friend was like, "Are you a Buddhist?" And it was interesting because it's like, why in my brain, I'm like, why do we have to believe in a certain religion to like? I don't know. I don't know how to explain it. Like you're posting clips that are super progressive, like accepting of all, and your friend is like, "Oh, you are a Buddhist." A Buddhist. Am I saying that correctly?
Yep.
Okay, just making sure. But in my brain, when you said that, I'm like, why I wonder why that guy jumped to that. I wonder why he didn't just think like, oh, David's just a good guy. He just, has a progressive mindset. Like, why does it have to correlate to a religion is my thing. Like, why does everything have to correlate to religion? And I know, like, it stems back, like, probably far, far back, but I'm like, it's just interesting because to me, I don't really know what I believe anymore. I'm like in between, like, I'm sure there's something that created this, but who? I just know that I'm walking on this earth being a
Hmm.
good human. I'm loving everyone. I'm accepting of everyone. I'm not discriminating against anyone. I have good morals. And then it's funny because my mom's like, well, morals have to come from somewhere. It comes from religion, Kinley. And I'm like, I don't think so. Like, I think some people obviously have morals that come from their religion. But for me, I feel like it's just common sense. Be a good human. Like, someone drops money on the ground and it's theirs, pick it up and give it to them. Like, yes, that might stem from a book, from ages ago, but that's not where I'm bringing it from. Like, I'm just, do you get what I'm trying to say? I'm like yapping.
Well, our mind grasps for ways to simplify things down. And so labels are very, very convenient. And so I resist labels. Like, I don't care. I really have come to the point where I don't care what I am.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean you're not going to care. That doesn't mean other people aren't going to care. People are constantly trying to figure me out. But that's their problem. It's not my problem. My problem is gone. Like, I'm at peace.
Mm-hmm.
My mind's at rest. My mind's at peace. I'm not worried about where I am or what I believe. There's a way of living that transcends belief.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you ask any of like an enlightened Buddhist or any other like wise spiritual teacher, they don't espouse belief. There's something that transcends belief, where it's a more of a knowing
Mm.
and a peaceful knowing. And it might be complete darkness, like the Christian classic, The Cloud of Unknowing. Like, it could be an unknowing knowing, but I'm okay there. I feel no anxiety anymore about what I believe or what, you know. Now, it's like a can of food. I'm the can of food. I don't, I'm not trying to figure out what my contents are. You know what I mean? I know what they are.
Mm-hmm.
It's other people that are trying to figure out what's his contents. What is he?
Yeah.
And, uh, but that's not my problem.
Yeah.
That's not my anxiety at all. Are you straight or are you queer? You sound kind of queer. Um, Or are you a Christian or are you a Buddhist or you're definitely an atheist? I can't believe you were a pastor. You don't know anything about the Bible, obviously. Well, that's your problem.
Yeah.
I'm not I'm not worried about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if you can get to that point, Kinley, where you're like, I don't need to worry about anymore where this world came from or if there's an afterlife or who's right and who's wrong. I don't care anymore, but it's a very empowering I don't care. It's not a lazy I don't care. I give up, I don't care.
Yeah.
It's a very enlightened, kind of empowered kind of oh, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. And I think I am to that point. It's just, of course, when people bring up conversations about religion and then they bring up, you have to believe in something. Of course, like I'm good where I'm at and I know what I believe in. But it does make me think, of course. I'm like okay, maybe there is something out there. You know what I mean? So it's like I'm at peace with with where I'm at and where I believe in, but of course it is that unknown where it's like it is kind of interesting to think about, like, well, who did create this? But then when I think about religion, I'm like, why are we believing that some invisible man created this and we have to like abide by everything he says? And then that steers me away and I'm like, that's weird. And then I'm like, it is interesting in my brain, but
Yeah.
I am content with the fact that, like, I know where I'm at. If there is an afterlife, that's amazing. I'm gonna go to the good place, hopefully. Um, and if not, then this is crazy. Like, I don't know what to say, but it is interesting. I mean, that's why religion is such like a hot topic, because it's just such a interesting
Yeah.
thing to talk about. Let's talk about your art. I know we kind of touched on it earlier, but I kind of want to dive more into it. So, do you remember the first piece that you did that really stirred controversy or like conversation, whether it was in your church or just in your circle or on social media?
Yeah. Um, I have one called uh, Eraser. I think that might have been my first real um, famous one. Here we go. There. That was my first um, famous one, I think.
Eraser.
So
Oh.
people are drawing lines with their pencils, but Jesus has his upside down as he's erasing the lines. You see that?
I do. I see it. That's amazing.
So
Can you elaborate more on that?
yeah, so I that one I drew way back. Well, it was before 2014, that's for sure. But
Mhm.
that's a later edit, I suppose. But it a lot of people loved it. They thought, oh yeah, um, Jesus was about removing barriers, and a lot of the stories about Jesus are about him eating lunch with the prostitutes and tax collectors and sinners, um, and then there's other people who are like, there has to be lines, or we have to know who's right and who's wrong, and we have to be exact, and we have to know who's sinning and who's not, and who's our leader, and all that.
Yeah.
So I have found ever since that a lot of my cartoons are that way, because I think a lot of my cartoons are on the side of those who are marginalized.
hmm
But the people who are doing the marginalizing are going to get upset,
hmm
right? So my cartoons have that kind of a dual effect on people,
Yeah.
where it's either going to encourage you, affirm you, or it's going to offend you
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
make you angry. Yeah.
Yeah. No, whenever I was looking at your Instagram and all of your artwork, I was like, I bet he has so much love, but I bet he has so much hate as well. And it's awesome that you continue to make this art because it is very controversial. I mean, it shouldn't be controversial, but that's a whole other topic. Um, but I think it's awesome that you're still sticking with the clips and you're like, I think you posted something on your website. Maybe it was the video that you had. You said something like, oh gosh, I forgot what it was, but it was pretty much you being like, I'm loved. I love, or people love my work, people hate my work, but I forgot what you said, but it was so good. I'm gonna butcher it, so I'm not even gonna try. But I remember I was like, I don't know. I just love that you're still continuing to make this artwork, especially with the way that the world is right now. Like, you
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think it's
Yeah.
great.
Do you want to see my first popular gay cartoon?
Of course.
Um, there we go. Can you see that?
Yeah, sorry, Jesus, but I think I'm gay. Dude, relax. I knew that long before you did.
Yeah. So I drew that because I know I have a lot of friends who feel really sorry for being gay, and then I just wanted to draw Jesus holding his hand first, but then that there's no judgment,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and so of course, that upset a lot of people too.
Oh, of course.
Um,
I'm
and yeah, so
No, I love it. I'm looking at your page right now. There's this one, I forgot to screenshot it, but there was one artwork that you did. I mean, there's so many. There's so many, but it was let me try to find it. Sorry. Um, let's see. It might take me a second. Okay, I don't know where it is, but I think it was the one where there was a bunch of white sheep
Yes.
that they were protecting someone that was a part of the community. It was like a rainbow sheep.
Yeah.
And I think that was it. And then, I mean, it was like the white sheep was protecting the rainbow sheep. And then there was like mean people, like mean sheep that were in front of it, or maybe it was wolves or something.
Yes.
And I loved it because the white sheep, I'm assuming you were trying to say that they were like just heterosexual people. They were protecting the marginalized group, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. And
Actually, is this the one here? Um, it's actually a trans sheep.
oh, okay. Yeah, you have so many clips on there that I'm like this like it makes me think. I'm like, "Oh my gosh, like this is so yes. Yes, so sweet." Like it's so sweet and it makes me so happy. Like I love that. Like it's such a good message. Like
Yeah. Yeah, I like
it's
it too.
great because it's such a good message because it's like even if and it's funny. Hopefully you don't take disrespect to this, but I was talking to my mom and I was like, "I love that he is a white presenting man.
Hmm.
You are, I believe, a straight man. You are an older man. And in
Yep.
your generation can be so close-minded
Hmm.
and hateful. And I think it's amazing that you are able to like really hopefully this doesn't come off like rude or disrespectful, but it's amazing that like you are a privileged white man that like you have no reason to have to even think outside of the box or even write things that are super controversial. You don't
Hmm.
have to stand up for the marginalized groups if you don't want to because it doesn't affect you. You know what I mean? So I think it's amazing that you're able to see clearly. Hopefully that's not disrespectful. Do you get
No,
what I'm saying?
you're totally right, and I have to be constantly um, aware of my straight white middle class privilege. I need to be aware of that and stay aware of that. Um, and you know, I'm conscious of the fact, like I'm not gay, but I do a lot of talk about it. I do
Yeah.
talk about it a lot and draw a lot about it. But it's like I said, it's almost like that's where the line seems to have been drawn. And um, you know, with true S LGBTQ community or with women, um, like the world hates women. The United States hates women. I mean, we're seeing with all these cases um, where these sexual assaulters and rapists and everybody are pretty much walking free or getting elected or
Mm-hmm.
or appointed or like it's just obvious that the world hates women. So I'm not a woman, but I'm married to one. I have one as a daughter, and I respect women, and I know I have a lot to learn myself as a man. And I constantly am trying to educate myself. Like I just went on a deep dive reading feminist books, and
It's amazing.
holy smokes, holy smokes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm reading one right now called Down Girl
Down girl.
on misogyny. Oh, it's brutal. It's brutal. Starts out with strangulation,
Okay.
and so it's brutal. But if we want to educate ourselves and if we want to become a better human being, a better man, and a better society, and so on, um, we've got to become more aware of what's actually happening.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what my most offensive cartoons are? It's not the gay ones. It's the feminist ones. The men it's just unbelievable. It's unbelievable. When I do a feminist cartoon, they are the ones I get the most hate over. And trans too, but that has to do with challenging the binary as well, right?
Mm.
That's why they wanted to drop the T from LGBTQ, is because it challenges the binary, and Q, queer. They want men and women. Even if you're, um, gay, it's still binary.
Mm-hmm.
Trans and queer challenge the binary because they need men on top, women on the bottom, and like how deep that goes is really been an eye opener to me. And reading all these books on misogyny and sexism and the patriarchy and feminism and so on, it's just been a real eye opener for me, but very kind of like well, maybe depressing the word, but sobering how serious and how deep the issue runs.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, but I feel that's my job as a privileged white man. I need to educate myself
Yeah.
and realize that the privilege I enjoy, um, and that it's a part of the that I can't help but be complicit because I'm a part of the system that favors me
Mm-hmm.
and doesn't favor women.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, that was one of the biggest eye openers for me when I was in the ministry too, was realizing that spiritual abuse, even though I myself was not inflicting harm directly upon people, that the system I was a part of
Mm-hmm.
was systemically abusing people,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and that there was no escaping that except by quitting.
What role does healing, yours or others, play in your artwork?
Well, it plays a huge role. So by healing, I'm presuming you mean emotional, mental, spiritual, um, etc.
Yes. Like your,
One,
yes.
yeah, one of the most profound things for me is when, as an abused person myself, I was abused growing up, and um, even as an adult in the church, I experienced spiritual abuse myself from people I served. And one of the most empowering and liberating things for me was realizing that I thought I was complicit in my suffering, that I sort of allowed it to happen,
Mm.
but coming to realize that that's actually how I survived. And that got my power back. It's like asking myself, why didn't I do anything when he was doing that to me? Well, because if I did something, it would have got worse.
Mm-hmm.
I did nothing to survive. And here I am today, I'm able to talk about it. Um, and so that brought my power back so that was my healing, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing had to happen to him or whatever, although I do believe in, you know, um, perpetrators suffering consequences. I do believe that. But for me personally, it was liberating. It's like, okay, I'm fine.
Mm-hmm.
That was my healing, actually, that I wasn't broken somehow.
Yeah.
That was the healing, realizing I wasn't broken.
Yeah.
And so I actually talk about that a lot, including the whole Christian concept of salvation, that you're a bad person and you need to be saved and rescued, and challenging that whole concept that you're a sinner from birth, that you're dirty, rotten, and need to be saved. And the only one who can do that for you is Jesus, and you have to believe to undermine that, to challenge that whole notion and saying, what if your salvation is realizing you don't need to be saved, that you're actually fine? What if that was your aha moment? That, wait a minute, I am not a dirty, rotten sinner. I'm not depraved. What are you talking about? Like, what if that is your born again
Yeah.
experience where you realize I'm okay. I'm fine, actually. I'm a good person.
Yeah.
So that's what comes through my work a lot. And I know it a lot of people, it's like, oh my God, I needed to hear this today. And other people are like, sword through the belly, man. You need a sword through the belly, whatever.
Crazy. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
so
I
that's the thing I talk a lot about.
love that. Okay. Okay, so you've created this loving, bold online space. So what's been the most beautiful part about building that?
Well, when you asked what's the worst part about leaving the church, and it was community I missed the most. It's the same thing. Is I'm connected to so many people all around the world, and I love it. I mean, you know, I live the life of a hermit. My wife's a full-time nurse. She works 48 hours a week, and I spend a lot of time at home alone. But I'm fine with that. I'm actually very much like a monk, like a hermit. My work, plugging away. But I'm connected to all these people online, beautiful people, fun people who I feel a real connection with, like you, Kinley. And like it's just people all around the world, um, different religions,
Hmm.
different languages, different races.
Hmm.
And it's wonderful. That's what I love most about what I do.
Yeah, I love that. No, I agree. Me having a podcast as well, I'm able to speak to so many interesting people, and
Yeah,
there's so many conversations that I have that have made me like think differently about certain things or put certain
yeah,
things into perspective or just educated me, because I'm obviously a human that is still trying to, you know, learn everything that I can. I'm just in my little like second room in my apartment, like just talking to people, thinking that like like I don't think much of it. I mean, I'm proud of myself for what I do, but I'm like, but then when people are like, no, you really made a difference, I'm like, oh my God, like stop it. Like I love that I'm able to speak to so many different people and, my episodes reach certain people in different parts of the world. And I'm like, wow, I never thought someone in Tokyo would listen to my podcast. You know what I mean? So
yeah, yeah. I do know what you mean. It's beautiful.
yes, it
Yeah.
is. Do you still see your work as kind of like ministry?
So I left the ministry in 2010.
Yes.
A lot of people tell me, wink, wink, nod, nod, you never really left the ministry.
Yeah.
And so I really do feel I am doing what I used to do as a pastor, helping people get from their point A to their point B spiritually. Uh, but it's online, it's virtual. And, I don't care if you call me I kept the name Naked Pastor just because by that time it had become a brand already. And you know, I don't know if I did the right thing or not by keeping it, but alas, here we are, Naked Pastor. And I still am doing what I did as a pastor, and I'm still as honest, more honest than I ever used to be, and real and raw. So, um, if you call it ministry, I do feel I'm fulfilling what I'm here to be here for. Like, I really do feel like I'm doing what I do best.
Yeah.
And and I'm happy, I'm passionate about it. I have limitless energy when it comes to it. So if you want to call it ministry, you may. I don't call it that. I just call it me doing what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And I don't call myself pastor. I don't call myself prophet. I don't call myself minister or what I do ministry, but people are free to do that. I don't get offended or, whatever.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
Yeah, it's kind of like what I was talking about earlier is we don't really need to put labels on things. Like you're just what you're doing isn't a form of ministry. It's just you being a good human and you putting out accepting accepting clip arts and your art. You know what I mean? I just didn't know
Yeah.
if you still viewed it as that. I don't know. I just had to ask.
No, no, I appreciate it. Now, whether it's anointed or
Mhm.
divine or all that, I don't know. I don't care.
Yeah.
But that I'm not in that kind of a mind frame anymore.
Yeah.
And but yeah, I do. If you believe in having a calling in life, I feel like I'm fulfilling what I'm supposed to do.
Totally.
Yeah.
And you're reaching more people. You know what I mean?
Oh,
Like if like you
yeah.
like your stuff is going viral, like your clips are doing amazing, like it's all over the world. So like I think it's amazing. Like especially since you're putting out good things, and it's going around the world, people are able to see it. I think it's amazing. I think it's great. So I think what you're doing is great. And I think you should keep doing what you're doing. Based on your own interpretation of scripture, is being gay a sin? And how do you believe scripture should be read in light of today's understanding of sexuality and gender identity? That is my mom's question.
So my friend Dan McClellan,
Okay.
he is a Mormon. He's on TikTok. He's huge, but he's a Bible scholar, biblical scholar. And so he has a whole chapter in here. The book's called The Bible Says So,
Okay.
and what we get right and wrong about Scripture's most controversial topics. And so far, of everything I've read, now he's straight, and I'm pretty sure I'm right about that. Yeah, I know he's married with kids, but that doesn't necessarily mean you're straight, right? But I believe he is straight. Um, so one of his chapters, and it's just 20 pages long, it says the Bible says homosexuality is an abomination. And he takes a deep dive into the scriptures on that. Ask your mom to read that. One chapter. It's no nonsense. It's very, very clear. And I really appreciate Dan for that. So I have 11 books out myself, and I just boosted somebody else's book. How's that for you?
That's amazing. Yeah, I was going to ask you about your books. We'll go into that in a second. But yeah,
This is mine, The
I
Rainbow Sheep,
love it.
and it's a children's book.
Yeah,
So as a kindergarten teacher, you would appreciate that.
I would,
But
but God forbid the parents would hate it.
I know this is the inside the first cover.
I
See
love
the rainbow
that.
sheep?
I love it.
And he's going against the flow with all the white sheep, right?
Hmm.
But at the end of the book, it looks like this.
Oh my God, I love that. Where can people get that?
Anywhere books are sold, so it's on Amazon, Barnes and Nobles, million books or something, and anywhere you can order it anywhere. But
Oh
that's my
my
new
God.
book. It just came out last month, and the Rainbow Sheep. But what's interesting about this book, there's no mention of God or the church or anything. It's just about community. There's a flock of white sheep, and then all of a sudden, a rainbow sheep comes along, Ricky, and they're all challenged to be unique themselves.
Hmm.
So it's a bit, and to be themselves. So um, I like that. It's a cool little story. So it's not a simple question but just to say there are a whole bunch of biblical scholars who are challenging the traditional homophobic interpretation of scripture and uncovering that there's been a lot of misunderstanding and assumptions and even mistranslations
Hmm.
of the Bible that are homophobic.
Hmm.
And that when you take McClellan's view of the Bible, it opens up a conversation and is way more inclusive and makes the possibility for inclusion way more possible. So, um, and so for me, there's two ways you can take. One is if you really need the Bible to tell you how to live, there are biblical scholars that are working on trying to understand what the Bible means at a deeper level that isn't homophobic. On the other hand, you can take a different route and say, you know what? That was written thousands of years ago by men thousands of miles away, a different culture, language, who had no concept. They didn't have nearly the understanding of sexuality and gender that we do today. I'm not going to take their advice on how to live my sexual life or choose how to
Mm-hmm.
be male or female. So you can take that route.
Mm-hmm.
Say, I do need scripture to tell me how to live. You can go that route and find affirmation. Or you can be like, well, the Bible forbids eating shrimp and pork, and I eat shrimp and pork. And so even though it may condemn homosexuality, I'm just not going to follow that rule.
Yeah.
It's passe. And so it doesn't apply to me anymore. It might have applied 4,000 years ago, but it doesn't apply to me now. So that's my take.
Yeah. What is because of course there's, so many people who reference certain scriptures as proof. I know you said in that book that you just showed us, the one that your friend wrote, it said
Right.
something about how homosexuality is an abomination or something like that. Does it actually say that in the Bible, or is that how people interpret it? Like, what are the scriptures that people are taking out of the Bible? And
Well, I don't have all the scriptures at my fingertips and everything.
okay.
Like I used to aspire to be a Bible scholar. I don't anymore. But um, what Dan uncovers, and a lot of us already knew this, is that when it refers to prostitutes or a man shall not lie with a man, it's talking about there's all kinds of issues happening, like ritual, ceremonial things that are going on. Uh, and what it might very well say is a man should not lie with a boy. So it's talking about, you know, child abuse,
Mm-hmm.
sexual abuse,
Mm-hmm.
pedophilia. Also, there's a lot of talk about, um, okay, there's a lot of talk about like in the old days and still some today in purity culture, the man should be on top.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're a woman on top,
Mm-hmm.
that's an abomination. If you're a man on the bottom, actually, that's the abomination. A man on the bottom. That's an abomination.
So it's so odd. What is the meaning behind it? Is it like
Well, it's
the
all
man?
patriarchy, right? It's all
Oh,
patriarchy
yeah, that's what I was about to say. Yeah.
and male power and
The
all that.
power. Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. What being the top is more powerful, so of course the man has to be the top. Like, anyways, it's
Yeah.
great.
So that's a really good 20-page analysis that I point people to now, and but there's a lot of queer Bible scholars out there right now,
Yeah. What is that book called
and
again?
pastors. The book's called The Bible Says So by Dan McClellan.
The Bible Says So. Okay, what's been one of the most moving messages or reactions you've received from someone who's felt seen through your work?
Well,
I know you've probably gotten a lot of DMs and people reaching out to you. So,
well, I was just trying to find it. I just got an email today from somebody who said when they started deconstructing, they were going through a very, very dark time. It was just really dark.
yeah.
There's, I know what it's like
Hmm.
not to have any answers and to be totally confused and to have no support.
Hmm.
And those closest to you are very suspicious about what you're going through and judgmental. And so she was going through that darkness, and she said, your posts and your letters, I have a weekly newsletter. She said, were just that little bit of light I needed. And she said, you've actually saved my life. It's like, holy smokes. You get messages like that, don't you?
Oh, yes.
And it's just like, wow, I saved somebody's life. Like that's pretty amazing. It doesn't get better than that.
Yeah, it
And
puts a
so,
lot of things into perspective. You're like, oh,
yeah,
this
yeah,
is,
for sure.
yeah.
So I get messages like that. and it makes it all worthwhile.
Yeah. And what I think is amazing, like, of course, in my brain, I'm like, someone that is pretty homophobic probably isn't going to look at your clips and be like, oh, I'm going to just be super accepting and love the LGBTQI plus community, you know? Like, but I'm also like, maybe there's,
No, yeah, no, it happens. Some of
yeah.
my best friends right now were my worst enemies. They've changed their minds. So it does happen. I saw a clip just this morning, actually, a short video. It's from the historical archives. There's this audience, they're all elderly, and there's this elderly man sitting in the middle of them. And uh, the woman who is chairing this meeting is there, and she the man who was in the audience, elderly man, in Germany, saved a bunch of Jewish kids. Like he rescued them, he hid them and got them out. And the woman chairing the meeting said that she did some research and found some of these kids that he had rescued, Jewish kids that he had rescued. And she said, if anybody here, if this man, anybody in the audience, if this man saved your life, please stand up. And they all stood up. The whole audience, she had gotten this whole audience together of people he had rescued as
Oh,
kids, Jewish children. And it's like, we never know. Like, he had no idea. He had no idea if they survived or not, and he had no idea he was sitting in the middle of all those people that he had rescued, saved their lives. And I took that as a lesson. Like, we have no idea how many people we're touching and
hmm.
helping and affecting and saving, so it's kind of like Barack Obama said when he was, I don't know, senator, maybe, where he kept getting criticism and all that. He said he just had to keep his head down and do the work. It's all about the work. And I take that advice, it's all about the work. Just do the work,
Hmm.
keep doing the work. And it keep getting stories like this.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. I love that. If you could speak to someone wrestling with staying or leaving a conservative faith space, what would you tell them? And how do you hope your journey will influence others facing similar conflicts? That's my mom's question.
So I am not against the church. I only wish the church would do things in a healthy manner. That's
Mhm.
that's my beef. So I know people who are a part of a conservative congregation, and they feel safe.
Mhm. Mhm.
That, if you can find a church where you feel safe and you're allowed to be yourself,
Mhm.
and you can enjoy the community and you feel supported, it could be lousy preaching, it could be lousy music, it could be stale donuts, it could be, you're meeting in a school gym. I don't care. But if you feel safe and you have community support, stay. You've got something.
Mhm.
But if you're a part of this conservative community and it's eating you away, like you feel like you can't be yourself, you have to hide a part of yourself, that you can't be real or authentic for fear of being rejected or rebuked or whatever, I'd question staying in that kind of a context because it just eats away at your soul, right? But yeah, that's what I recommend people. There are some good churches out there. By good, I mean where you feel safe and you're not judged and you feel supported. There are some good churches out there.
Totally.
But there, and if you find one, stay.
Yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
that would be nice. What would you say? So, for example, I've talked about this like in my other episodes. So, I obviously, when I came out, there were people that in my family that were just not accepting at all. Some that were not accepting, and then they eventually got over it because they're like, Kinley is still Kinley, you know? But I have, some people that think that I'm like going to hell. They think it's like an abomination. They think it's disgusting, like that kind of stuff. So, me and my mom, we have conversations about this, and I'm like, I don't want those people in my life, period. Even if they're family, even if they're blood, I don't think I should keep them in my life. I don't want to have communication with them. I don't want to have to. Why would I want someone like that in my life? My mom talks to me about how, since it's family, like you can love them from a distance, but like they're family, Kinley. Like you should keep them in your life. And so, what is your advice for someone like in my position that has family members that are extremely against who you are, but they still try to be in your life? And when you talk to them, it's always like, I hope you're doing well. I'm praying for you. Like, as in, like, I'm
Yeah,
praying, I'm praying you find like clarity type of thing. What is your advice?
it's all about boundaries, and everybody has their own bubble, safety bubble, comfort level, you know. Um, I've had to, I have family members, not my family, but my birth family
Mhm.
members who were bullies. And, you know, we would get together and I'd have to just sort of grit my teeth and bear it. Um, but it got so bad the past year or two that I had to establish boundaries and saying, I do not associate with bullies. Like it crossed the line
Mhm.
where it felt not only uncomfortable, but even threatening.
Mhm.
So, and toxic. Like you can't expose yourself to toxicity, especially for long periods of time.
Mhm.
So it depends what your boundaries are. You might just need to say, look, I can handle them for maybe a cup of coffee with a big group of people, but I cannot be in their presence anymore because it's just too toxic and I feel judged all the time. And it's not good for me. And it's not a real relationship anyway.
Mhm.
So why honor pretending, you know?
Yeah.
So that's my approach.
Yeah.
But for every person, it's different. Like your boundaries might be further out, you know, where your fence is way out there and they can't get anywhere near you, or it could be closer. For a while, my boundaries for these family members was pretty close,
Mhm.
and I could tolerate some, but they ramped it up to the point where I had to move the fence way out. I'm not going to let them anywhere near my life. I don't even answer emails or nothing. Or messages. I block them.
Mhm.
I'm not letting them in their life. Yeah, they're family. Yeah, they're blood. But Jesus redefined family, even right? When a crowd came up and says, "Hey, your mom and your brothers are here to see you." So my family are those people who hang out with me,
Mhm.
you know. And so, uh, your what do they call that? Adoptive family or
Um, it, it is.
found family?
Oh,
Found family. My found family is my real family now,
yeah.
and that's the way it feels for me in my life. My found family.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you know what? My wife's a nurse. And here in Canada, we're a lot more liberal and progressive than the States has become. But the patient gets to define who their family is. So when they say, this man is my wife and whatever,
Yeah.
uh, the you just accept it. The patient gets to say who their family is. And so, yeah, and I believe that should be true in life. My
Totally.
family looks very different now than it did when I was younger. but it's my found family and they support me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, 100%. And I'm right there with you. Like I feel like I could be in a room with them to have coffee, like if it's like a family gathering, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like I'm not going to be like weird like but yeah,
They're
definitely.
weird. They're the weird ones.
No, I know that's true. I should. Yeah, you're right. You're right. Um but I'm the same way where like it's to the point where they reach out, I don't respond, and it's not and of course like they've had conversations with other people being like, you know, I don't understand. Like, why is she not responding back to me? And I'm like, it just shows how in their little bubble, how ignorant they are. And I'm like,
Yeah.
don't really know what, like, I don't know. I don't know where to go from here. And it's interesting when people are like, well,
Yeah.
Kinley, she's your grandmother and she loves you. I'm like, I have such a hard time. Like, I do believe that she loves me, but, and this is probably like controversial, but I'm like, I feel like if someone thinks I'm literally going to hell and they don't accept me fully, how can they love me fully? And I know that like that may not make sense to some people, but in my brain, whenever someone that is totally against who I am is like, I love you, I'm like, I'm sure you do, but I don't feel the like it doesn't feel right. Yeah, does that make sense? Like I'm like this feels weird. Like I don't like that. I don't know
Well,
how to.
no, it's because they're rejecting who you are.
Yeah.
Like it's your identity. It's not just a behavior. You
Mhm.
know what I mean? So it's like they're rejecting your identity, your whole identity.
Mhm.
It's like
100%.
what if uh, a Christian marries a Muslim, which happens, and her family rejects them. Like, well, I love your husband, but we got to get him saved.
Yeah.
You know, and they spend their whole time trying to convert the guy.
Yeah.
That's miserable. It's just miserable. And so that's not love.
Mhm.
Because like I said earlier, my definition of love, it's not romantic or
Mhm.
sentimental. It just is, and it
Mhm.
includes everything automatically. It's indiscriminate.
Mhm.
And so your grandma hopefully will come around to see that love is indiscriminate.
I think
You
she's
know,
I think she's far from coming around, but you know what? It is what it is, you know? It is what it is. Can't do
yeah,
anything
it is
about it.
what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um okay, so what is next for you personally or creatively? Creatively. Sorry.
really. Um,
Creatively.
that was a creative way to say that word.
There you go.
Um, what's next for me? It's interesting because I do feel I'm on the brink of something,
Mm,
and I think I need to be even more courageous. And yeah, so that's what I'm feeling is to become even more courageous in what I have to say.
mm,
And it's interesting when we talk about vulnerability, that implies there's risk, right?
mm,
Like if I say I need to be vulnerable, that means I need to lower my defenses and you can attack me if you want, and that's scary for me.
yeah.
And so, but I do feel challenged to be even more vulnerable. And the world feels riskier now than it did,
Mhm.
um, in a way, especially from the South.
Mhm.
So it's interesting because as America becomes more autocratic, the world around seems to be reacting against that. So that to me is a good sign. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. I do feel though I need to, um, you know, rustle up a little more courage for what lies ahead. So
I love that.
yeah,
I love that. Well, I'm excited to see what comes in the future, maybe the near future.
yeah.
Okay, last question. What's one truth you've learned through this whole journey that you'll never let go of?
Love is. Yeah, that's the big one. Love is. Love is. And so that's my default position, right? I don't feel I need to work to make love happen.
Mhm.
My default position is like many people's default position is we're all divided and we need to figure out ways to harmonize. For me, my default position is we're all one. We just need to manifest it. That sounds really new agey, but I don't mean it in a new agey way. I really genuinely mean we are one. Um, we don't have to make it happen. It already has happened.
Mhm.
We are one. And so let's just honor that. Let's just recognize it and honor that in the way we live our lives. So love is that's the big thing for me.
I love
It's
it.
huge, it really is.
Yeah. It is. It's a big one. I love that. Okay, guys. Well, that is the end of today's episode. This was a different episode than what I've ever done. I've never had, you're not a pastor anymore, but someone that was a pastor. I've never had someone like that on my podcast. I love it. I loved our conversation. You're more than welcome to come back on. I feel like we could have talked about so many different things. And so, anyways, you can come back on whenever you want. But thank you so much for coming.
You're welcome. I'd love that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Welcoming back anytime.
Oh my gosh, yes, I will. I will. Yes, we can plan it.
My base camp is nakedpastor.com. And you can find everything that I do from there. But my biggest account really is Instagram, Naked Pastor. That's where you and I connected.
Mhm. Mhm.
But I'm on everything from Facebook, LinkedIn, Threads, Blue Sky, you know, uh, TikTok, YouTube.
Mhm.
My books are all on Amazon. I have 12 books or 11 or 12 books now.
Ooh,
And so you can find them on Amazon and some elsewhere. And yeah, stay tuned for more. I do a cartoon every day at least, and my paintings and my posts and everything, and they're all intended to help you. So thanks so much.
of course. Well, thank you so much for coming on again. And for my listeners, I post every Wednesday. Have some really cool people coming on, so definitely stay tuned. I will talk to you guys later. Bye.